to order and ask that our clerk please call the roll.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Present.
Councilmember Hussein.
Here.
Councilmember Wood.
Here.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Here.
Councilmember Dunbar.
Here.
Councilmember Garza. Councilmember Jackson. Councilmember Betts.
Yep, here.
Councilmember Garza did indicate that he would not be here this evening, so his absence this evening is excused, and we will take care of that at council. The first order of business in front of us with that quorum is the minutes from August 24th, 2020. Mr. Vice President.
Sure. I would move all 7 pages of the August 24th meeting minutes as presented.
Very good. The motion has been made on the minutes. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, I'm sorry, really? It's August. Okay. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Hussein.
Yes.
Councilmember Spitzley.
It's August for 7 more hours, or 6 hours and 56 minutes, and yes.
Councilmember Wood.
Yes.
Councilmember Betts.
Yes.
Councilmember Dunbar.
Yes. For 6 hours.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson. Oh, he's muted.
No.
He said he's not muted.
He's having some audio issues. He's nodding yes, though.
Okay, I just want to make sure some of our recordings are only audio, not video, so.
Gotcha. Councilmember Jackson.
Motion carries 7-0.
Shaking his head in affirmative. Also, real quick tip, guys. You can hold your space bar while you're in the Zoom screen, and it will unmute you, and then when you let go, it puts you back on mute. That's a pro tip I was teaching someone on my staff this morning. Well, they taught me, rather. So, next item is discussion FY 2021-2022 budget priorities. I'm going to share a document on the screen. So,
Mr. President.
oh, I skipped over.
Public comment, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Not
We
a
do have public
problem.
comment. Those wishing to make public, thank you, Councilmember Wood. Those wishing to make public comment on committee on agenda items, you'll have 3 minutes to do so. You will signify by raising your hand, and that is option Y or Alt Y, depending on if you're from Mac or PC. *9 on a phone, which doesn't look like we have any phone callers, or if you scroll over to the participant screen and click raise hand, that is how you can raise your hand. So we will close public comment at the conclusion of the second speaker. And if we only have one speaker, then we will close it early. But the first speaker is Loretta Stanaway. Loretta, you have 3 minutes and you are all set.
Okay, I just wanted to address the budget priorities issue. As you've heard me say for year after year after year, I think our first 2 priorities, and I think that the voters have signified as well with their passing of millages, that the priorities need to be police and fire. I know that that's not a popular stance at the moment, but if you listen at all to the scanner, as you know I do, you're very aware, and if you follow the news media, you are very aware that we are in a increased violent crime status right now. We have far too few police officers on the street in order to do any kind of proactive instead of strictly reactive work. They are stressed, they are overworked, they are putting in involuntary and voluntary overtime, and we absolutely need more police officers. Defunding police shouldn't even, in my opinion, be a topic of conversation. Yes, there is room for improvement. Yes, there is room for reform. But no, it does not involve reducing the budget for the police as far as I'm concerned. Fire, of course, always can use more as well, although they're in a little better situation, I think, than the police department. So again, as always, police and fire, that is what a city is built on. If you don't have adequate police and adequate fire protection, you are not serving your citizens as a city is expected and needs to do. That is why people live in and pay taxes to and vote for millages for those services. If you aren't able to keep your residents safe, nothing else that you do matters, period. You will see flight out of this community at levels you've never experienced in the past. And that is just, it's an unconscionable direction to go in as far as I can see. We do have opportunities for some change. We do have opportunities for improvement. We do have opportunities for doing a few things here and there differently, but wholesale defunding of the police and wholesale restructuring of the police should not even be a topic of discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Loretta, or Ms. Stanaway, excuse me. If anyone else wishes to speak, please raise your hand now. Otherwise, we'll move on. I'll give you about 10 seconds to do that. All right, thank you. That closes public comment for the committee of the whole. The first item rather, is the discussion of the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. And as you all recall, I kind of mentioned that I would like to propose at least a different way forward on these. I know I'm only one person, and I sent you an email this morning, or this afternoon rather, that I will share the document. Just give me just a moment. Now, hopefully there's no typos. That would be embarrassing. So there's the document. And as you know, in the past and for many years, our budget priorities have been pretty lengthy. It's about a 10-page, 2,927 word document that lists has a lot of verbiage in it and a lot of mission and vision and goals and things like that. I thought it might be more productive to propose a format that clearly lays out our mission, which is not changeable. It's on the website, so you can't change it there. But lays out the mission, talks about the committee's meeting to evaluate budget priorities, and then urges the administration to include, to the extent practical, the items that presented by the city council. So we have then just a very straightforward format of each committee's resolution, budget priorities. And I think that the biggest difference here that I'm looking to hopefully see is a cost estimate of things. So for instance, if I want to hire a full-time, I don't know, whatever, but include that language plus the estimated FTE cost. And you might be wrong on it, but with the best of our abilities to estimate those things. And then the tail end, be it further resolved, that came from last year's budget priorities. So those are obviously mutable as well, but I brought those in because they were a clear spending priority allocation compared to some of the other stuff. And I know Sherry sent the other ones around as well. So if you want those, again, we can put those up on the screen. But I really just wanted to have this conversation with folks and say, we have finite resources. And when you're throwing 3,000 words at a problem, maybe they're not always read carefully. So my hope was to pare down what we send the administration to actionable spending priorities that may be policy in nature. And certainly there's room for policy in these because they are the budget priorities and policies. But if we're talking budget and things we'd like to specifically see and allocate resources for, this is the format I was hoping we could use going forward, at least this time around. So I'm going to open it up. I saw Councilmember Spitzley. Did you put your hand down? Oh, Spitzley and then Wood. Oh, hold on just a second.
I got it. So I like putting in the dollar amounts. I think it makes it a better a proposed dollar amount, looking at the budget of last year and however you do it. I think it makes for a more robust budget priorities. You had kind of answered my question, which is why I thought to lower my hand, because as part of the justification, can we put in policy suggestions I would like to be able to put in policy suggestions as well.
You can do whatever you want.
It's my party, all right.
Exactly. What I wanted to do was pare this back and sort of start over, because it seems to have been one of those like cut and paste and just move forward. So I really wanted this time around, from my perspective, and obviously, as I keep saying, I'm only one person, but from my perspective, I wanted us to take a fresh start at reestablishing what the priorities would be in this budget. Because in my opinion, I don't think the other ones were considered, at least judging from the way the budget came out, in a number of ways. And it's not a slam on anybody. I don't think that when you get that much in there, it's hard to make if everything's important, nothing's important. So how do we prioritize with finite resources was my goal. So
Fair
if there's
enough.
policy statements in there, there are policy statements in here.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, but I didn't want to write policy statements for the committees. So thank you, Madam Chair. Councilmember Wood.
Thank you. I just want to procedurally look at how we would move forward. If we're looking for cost estimates, we don't have an internal auditor. Would we be looking to finance? Would we be looking to the strategic strategy officer to come up with numbers for us? Do we compile those and send them to Sherry so that everyone isn't asking for 20,000 things and our budget is long, so I'm trying to figure out how you would like us, if this is a format that we believe is one that we can move forward on. I think we have to put some parameters around how we're going to deal with that.
Those are excellent questions, Councilmember Wood. And Samantha, Deputy Mayor Harkins, without putting you on the spot, that is something that I guess I would seek sort of who in the administration. I think Councilmember Wood has put out some good suggestions, whether it be Jake, Rob, or Judy, someone over there, if they're the point person, or if we run it through Nick, Mr. Tate, that's something we could do as well. Just who should we have them go through? And Carol, to your question, I think we should have Sherry be the point of contact on that so that she can make sure we're not asking the same person 3 different times the same question.
Please send it through Rob Whittigan. Jake is the budget director, so I imagine Jake would do the work, but I like to err and have the department director be the one who takes the information directly. And if Rob decides to have Jake handle it directly, he can do that. But I want to make sure that Rob's in the loop as well. So I would put him down as the main contact.
So we'll have Councilmember Wood, I think that question is answered. We'll have Sherry kind of compile as committees, and Sherry and Renee, but Sherry will pass the information along, compile as committees make their decisions. That we'll have Rob get us that information. If we need to leave placeholders in, $100 placeholder type thing until we get the numbers from finance, that's something that I think would work. Does that answer your question?
I think that answers the majority of my question. Yes, thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you, Carol. Thanks, Samantha. Oops, hold on just a second. Let me let Councilmember Jackson back into the room. He's having some Zoom internet troubles, I'm hearing. Ryan, you here?
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, I'm on my cell phone now, and here you guys are on this thing. It's just spinning in a circle, and everybody's still frozen from before public comment. But I could hear you all, so thank you for letting me in on my phone. Now I can go on my bike somewhere.
There, just right by my window. Do you have any questions on the budget priority document? Did you heard our discussion? Oh. He's proving you can be in 2 places at once. I want to go back to City Hall so bad, you guys. Now I can't hear you in either spot, Brian. You're muted on both machines.
So I would want to echo what Councilwoman Wood said about the internal auditor. Just a concern, but that was covered. So it was a 10-page document. If we put it down, it's still going to be individual because you're asking to come from us and come from committees. But is there anything that's like, I don't know, that we have a consensus on? It's like, you better do this or else? I don't know. Because if we just still all have our own thing, and we're passing it as a body, how does that mix?
Well, so each item that would be included would have to be at least voted on by a majority of the council for full inclusion. So it would be the will of the council that those be included. Now, in terms of the stick is we need 6 votes to put anything on the budget that the mayor couldn't veto. or would sustain an override, I guess is the point there. So the more consensus you can get behind an object, the better, obviously, for its longevity or likelihood of surviving. And as far as the internal auditor, I won't speak for Councilmember Hussein, but I know that some emails have been flying back and forth between him, myself, and Sherry as we are rounding out our applicant pool. And we did reach out to the Board of Water and Light for their, I'm sorry, I'm going down this rabbit hole, but you opened it up a little bit, the two of you. We reached out to the applicants that did not get the job with Board of Water and Light to see if they are interested in the job with the City Council. So I think we've got one who has said yes and one who has said, let me go back and watch your videos to make sure I want to get involved in this. No, that's not really, he said, let me talk to my significant other. So we will, we'll have some hopefully updates and progress on that. We were not completely satisfied with the first round of applicants that we received. So we kept it open a little longer and received more. So I don't want to, as I said, I won't speak for our vice president, but that's been kind of what's happening there on the IA front. Councilmember Wood.
Just a couple things based on what Councilmember Jackson said and you indicated. First of all, whatever we put in the budget, the mayor can add or can choose not to add. 6 votes doesn't necessarily mean that us putting it in the budget is the appropriation isn't a mandate to spend, as Jim will tell us over and over again. So that doesn't mean that because we put it in the budget that the mayor has to spend the money. But maybe one of the things, if we could get some consensus from Ms. Harkin and the administration, would be, and again, you know, some of us that have been here for a while have gone back when we put budget priorities together, and the mayor would take those budget priorities and tell us where they were in the budget. You know, you said that this was important to you, this is where it is. And if there were things that they chose not to put in, then the mayor, previous mayors would have said, the reason this isn't in is because I believe we're doing it X, Y, and Z in these other places, and that's why I didn't include it in the budget. So maybe if, you know, we could get some assurance with the administration, that might be a clause that we would add in the resolution, asking that the mayor, when he's looking at our budget priorities, outline in the budget that he presents us where those budget priorities are or are not.
Right. That's, I saw Mrs. Harkins nodding, so at least I know she heard us. So we'll go from there. So I don't know if we need to vote on this. I don't think we do. Just whatever you all send out, we'll adopt them as a committee of the whole in a few weeks on the 21st, as indicated in the budget timeline. And as I mentioned earlier, if we're not ready on the 21st, we can have a special meeting. I don't want that to be a threat. I just want you all to know that it's something we can do if we're feeling a bit rushed. It just has to be in by October 1. See, I looked right at Carol. She shook her head. She knew. Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I mean, no, I guess if you're saying we don't have to vote on them, we don't have to vote on them, but it would be nice to, I mean, I think that the whole purpose of this, we need to get some consensus that the committees are going to be using this format. I mean, if not, I think it's just kind of.
I would entertain a motion to adopt this as the format for the 2021-2022 budget priorities.
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilmember Spitzley. Is there further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Hussein.
Yes.
Councilmember Wood.
Yes.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes.
Councilmember Batts.
Yes.
Councilmember Dunbar.
Yes.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Who's missing?
Jeremy.
Oh, right. Okay. It's been a long day, folks. I'm really looking forward to a 3-day weekend. Okay, so let's move on to B, a resolution setting the public hearing for the Montgomery Drain District Public Improvement 3 assessment roll. I spoke with Vice President Hussein as of about 4:30 this afternoon. We had not received the roll, so I'm going to recommend that we move this to our next committee of the whole agenda. As I did, there's no roll in front of us. So is there objection? If there's objection to that, speak now. But unfortunately, we did not receive the roll in time. I still have not received the roll, as far as I know. So we'll have to kick that down for till the 7th. And in the interest of transparency, I think that's what's best. So next item, item C, resolution for Public Act 425, Delta Township Android Industries. I believe Deputy Mayor Harkins is playing point person on this one.
I am. Thank you, Council President Spatafor. The city has 3 425 agreements with Delta Township currently that all expire at the end of this calendar year, December 31st, 2020. So we started negotiating with Delta Township. Time has no meaning. I think it was at the end of last year, early this year, the city attorney and I, along with finance and assessing, there were different folks there, but city attorney and I were at all the meetings. The negotiations went very well. The current agreements that are set to expire split the property tax at 60-40, with 60% going to Delta Township, 40% to the city of Lansing, and also splits income tax the same way, 60-40, that's 60% going to Delta. And it splits, there's an administration fee that it splits 50-50. So as part of this, these agreements that are before you this evening, it continues to keep the property taxes at 60-40, but it changes income tax to 50-50, and the city gets 100% of the administration fee because we do all the income tax administration. Now, admittedly, this isn't a significant increase in dollars to the city at this time. It's around almost $33,000 a year currently. I've been relying on numbers that Ms. Keeler gave us at the end of February, because given the way things have been so crazy since then, I think that's probably the most reliable numbers to look at. And then we can obviously look at them again based on how things have happened with COVID. So we have changed income tax to, or proposing to change income tax to 50-50, and the city will receive 100% of the administration fee. We did initially ask Delta Township to also move property tax to 50-50. We went back and forth on that quite a bit. One of the arguments that Delta Township made was that they do provide all of the police and fire response to those properties, as well as maintain all the infrastructure. So they do everything to actually maintain and respond to the properties. We do not do that. And after going back and forth a bit, we asked them for numbers about those responses. And based upon that, we did ultimately leave that at 60-40 after we got to that point. So I think that we had good and collegial negotiations. Brian Reed, the township manager in Delta Township, along with Jeff, their finance director, and Ted, their assessor, were wonderful, great to work with. And while again, I think one of the most promising pieces of this is there are some new industries or businesses going out in that property, one of them being Amazon. So I think from an income tax perspective, that number will certainly bump up in the coming years. And so we're excited about that, but I'm happy, either the city attorney or I are happy to answer any questions. And Delta Township's board did approve these agreements already several weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. So subject to your approval in the next few weeks, we would be ready to sign this and have another 15-year agreement.
So before I open up to questions, Mrs. Harkins or Jim, perhaps either or, absent approval of this agreement, no taxes are collected. Is that true?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
This is not like we still collecting until we agree. It goes away until a new 425 is agreed to.
Correct. And just so you know, we currently receive, I'm looking at the numbers to make sure I have them right. We currently receive around upwards of $500,000 for this, under this agreement. So it would certainly be a hit to us.
And the Delta 425 was negotiated under Mayor Hollister, is that correct?
15 years ago. So
yeah, about.
Yes, I'm like, I don't remember.
Or Benavides, I guess it would have been.
No, it's
Hollister. 15 years is good enough for me.
2005, so that I don't.
Whoever was there. I was at MSU at the time, so.
so there's a main 425 agreement with General Motors.
Yes.
That has 5 years left. That was done under Hollister. Subsequent to that, I think Benavides followed Hollister. I'm not sure if it was under him or before, after, I think it was 2005, whoever was mayor at that time, the
Tony.
3 suppliers agreements. These were the 15-year agreements.
Okay, great.
We should note for council members who aren't aware of what this is, 425 is a statute that was enacted in 1983 to allow a transaction between municipalities for economic development purposes. And it allows a sharing of taxes and public services. It's short of annexation. The most you can write one of these agreements for is 50 years. The original one that was done by Lansing was the building of the Jackson National headquarters on Okemos Road. They had more land, and then afterwards there were others. So they liked Lansing because they get a better tax rate. Allen was like getting 2 mills, and now they can go up to 20 or something on the sharing. Meridian Township is another 425. That's Governor's Club collection, I think on Hagedorn Road. That was, we had to bring a pump station out and all that, but it's a sharing again. One was done in DeWitt by the airport. And then we have 3 suppliers. So that's where we are right now. And as Deputy Mayor Harkins mentioned, the DeWitt Township voted to approve this, I think, 2 weeks ago. So these are all the same. One is for Android Industries. The second one is for Bridgewater Interiors. And the third one is for Stir Lansing LLC.
Can you remind me, please? I may not have heard it. What's the term of these, the length of term?
15
Well, another 15. Okay, thank you. Councilmember Wood.
For the ones that are with Bridgeport and the different companies, do they own the land?
Well, I'm not sure on that one.
Okay.
Oh, no.
So the agreement's still with Delta, but listing them, because I know we had this problem once before when we listed the company and then the company changed, we had to go back and make changes in the 425 agreement. And I thought there was some determination that we weren't going to list particular company names. So is that, have you rethought that process?
I just mentioned it for reference. The legal description for each one. Each of the agreements has a different legal description, so it's not the name of the company.
I just want to make sure that we're, okay. All right.
It's just so we know what we're voting on then, because the plot description doesn't make sense.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
The other quick question I have is, I know with the Meridian 425 agreement and I think the first 425 agreement that we had with Jackson Life required us to have at least one annual meeting with the appropriate governmental entity. And I didn't see anything in here for Delta. Is that something that we're not doing with them?
There was no request for that. It's not in the agreement. You're correct, but that doesn't mean you can't have these types of meetings with them.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Those answer my questions.
Thank you. Let me just double check here. We had a new person pop on. I want to make sure it's not. Okay, it was Kyle Kaminsky. Welcome, Kyle. So with the 425s, Mr. Smirka, I'm going to recommend that we just move them out to council as one motion. We'll deal with them on the floor as separate, but for tonight, is that all right? Okay, I'm seeing a yes. Mr. Vice President, would you make that motion, please?
Sure. I would move that we move I would move that we actually approve the 3 resolutions before you that pertain to 425 agreement renewals with Delta Township.
Thank you. It's been moved. Is there any discussion on that course of action? All right. Seeing none, Sherry, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Wood.
Yes.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Yes.
Councilmember Hussein.
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Councilmember Betts,
Yes.
Councilmember Dunbar, Councilmember,
Kathy, you were muted if you wanted to come back on that one.
I tried hit the space bar thing.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, yes.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, the next item on your agenda is we have a closed session, and there was a email sent to you a couple times, but today most recently at 3:01 p.m. with the closed session Zoom link. So what we're going to do here is City TV will stay on this one and leave this active for residents who are watching, and they'll put a graphic up or something. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but then we will come back to this and then or go into the next meeting. We'll do our closed session business, and then we'll come back here to adjourn. So before we take a motion, I see Councilmember Wood has a question.
This is for the city attorney. Since we are in closed session, we're in our private homes, I have to assume that we have to make sure that there is no one else in the room with us during the closed session, or that can be heard by anybody else while we're in the closed session. Am I correct on that?
Yes, I'm assuming the controller of Zoom is sure that no one else is on, but each of the council people must also be sure there's no one else in the room.
Yeah, I would advise folks to clear out their spaces and put on headphones if that's the best way to ensure that you're. The cats and dogs are fine, I would assume, right, Mr. Smirka?
As long as they don't
Unless
know.
they talk.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Unless they're wearing no parakeets. All right. So if I could have a motion from Vice President Hussein to go into closed session, please.
Sure, I would move that we enter into closed session to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state statute, specifically communications and opinions from the city attorney subject to attorney-client privilege.
Okay, the motion is before us. Would the clerk please call the roll on the motion to go into closed session?
Councilmember Hussein,
Yes.
Councilmember Wood,
Yes.
Councilmember Spitzley,
Yes.
Councilmember Betts,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Councilmember Dunbar,
Yes.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Very
At
good.
5:34 p.m.
Does anyone need the link resent to them?
I just sent it in an appointment.
Okay. See, you have to leave this meeting and join the other, and hopefully it doesn't end this one. So catch you later.
All right. It is 6:00 p.m. and the committee of the whole has returned from closed session. We will, with no further business before the committee, stand adjourned. City Council will resume at 7 p.m. on this link.